Humans as a species, no matter what culture or upbringing you came from, have always had a fascination with heroism, so much that it's ingrained to our children, into history books, stories, but not all stories are created equal.
Every culture has looked up to some kind of hero, whether it be an athlete or a spokesman or even a great artist. In our popular culture, this admiration for heroes is most representative in the superhero genre and other genres similar to it, such as sci-fi and fantasy.
But because, as a whole, anyone and everyone can define what a hero is. And over time, there can be loss in translations, morality changing for over thousands of years. A lot of people, whether they want to admit it or not, don't like it when heroes make horrible mistakes that they consider against their values. Deku and Ahsoka might be similar to Aang and Rei, but in truth, they only have shallow similarities. The enemies that Deku and Ahsoka face are more opposing than the ones Aang and Rei had to confront. There were no one trick up their sleeves to win the day in their favor. Deku almost caused the death of his own childhood friend turned tormentor, Bakugo, yet he saved him. With Ahsoka on her first space battle, she was the cause of many casualties in that fight. You might say that they were too young, but in truth, that never really mattered, because every age can face these sort of problems. You can't hide away from the unpleasantries of this horrific world we live in, or flee. Aang and Rei were overcompensated and were not called out when they fled. This doesn't mean that Aang and Rei are inherently awful characters. They're just lazy written for the authors to pose their wants, but not earned wants. They just want their cake right away in favor of themselves. Great ideas with horrible writing is useless. And that is what these stories are in truth to me on a personal level. But when you compare Aang with Deku and Rei with Ahsoka, you might begin to recognize that one set of characters had more to overcome than their opposites. Aang and Rei didn't confront many obstacles that challenged them personally and morally. Whenever such challenges did occur, it was never organic, because there was no lasting consequences. It is true that Aang injured his best friend and lost his other friend Appa and even his own tribe, but upon reflection, these issues were resolved almost too easily. Like, they really don't matter because they were solved but Aang definitely didn't want to use firebending again, even though it's a part of saving the world. In direct comparison, Deku, the main protagonist of My Hero Academia, always had overwhelming odds against him in every step of his life. In every step of his life, he had to endure 10 years of trauma and almost could have gone insane and become a villain himself.
What made Deku so relatable, and by extension what made the show so engaging, was the immense scale of every obstacle that Deku had to overcome, and the consequences that came with them. He started off being mocked by his own former friend for having no quirks and with no hope of becoming a hero. This obstacle was overcome when Deku met and impressed All Might himself by saving his own tormentor. Next, Deku could barely contain his new power inherited from All Might and constantly crushed his bones to use his powers, but through sheer determination and selfless attitude to look out for others, Deku managed to get to UA High in Class 1A. Throughout the show, Deku would constantly be pushed beyond Plus Ultra his limits through disciplined mentors and overwhelming opponents like Muscular Man. His efforts as a character are what made him relatable. The point we're trying to make here is that Deku is more relatable to Aang because he has more to overcome with his flaws. Deku may not be completely likable, but he is relatable. Rei and Ahsoka have much in common. Both are action heroines from one of the most beloved sci-fi franchises in Western culture. Both could wield the Force and would have many struggles to overcome. Both ran away from their intended roles as Jedi. The difference is in terms of writing, in that Rei feels more corporately artificial, whilst Ahsoka is more genuinely organic. Personally, I was rather fond of Rey's yearning for family and fear of destiny before Rise of Skywalker completely botched all prior development. It was implied by Kylo Ren and Maz Kanata that Rey had always known her parents weren't coming back, but in her pain she refused to admit it. This flaw in her character comes full circle in The Last Jedi, and makes sense given the clues we got. At that time, she could be inspiring to provoke that you don't have to be related to someone popular to find success in life. The last scene with the stable boy even hinted at that. Rey arose from her unimpressive life and arose above her situation. Because of this, I didn't perceive her as that much of a badly written character, until Rise of Skywalker came out and ruined her character development.
If it already wasn't good from the beginning.
In Rise of Skywalker, Rey is revealed to be a Palpatine and later changes her name to Skywalker. This ruins all prior development for Rey because there was little to no build-up to this revelation in the previous two movies, and as a result, the ultimate messages are extremely muddled.
In comparison, Ahsoka was trained from a very young age as a Jedi and having a decade of experience in the Jedi art. But she wanted to learn more and gain more experience, but her family issues are irrelevant to her growth. If you completely remove any blood tie to the story beats from Rey and Ahsoka, it becomes more clear which character is more developed. Because throughout the entire show, Ahsoka doesn't rely on any facts concerning her identity. What is her greatest strength is that she is truly fearless.
We as an audience witnessed their journeys right from the beginning. We see them accept their given roles and overcome their oppositions and opponents to see if they are worthy of those roles. What makes them more relatable is that they don't always win, but when they do, it's because they've learned from their mistakes.
And by letting them be weak, by letting them be truly flawed, and it's only from here that heroes have the space to learn and grow and fail, where their actions begin to carry real weight and purpose, where victories and consequences really matter.
Making heroes vulnerable adds more stakes to overcome. It's the main reason why Superman as a character has kryptonite as his main weakness, but given the wrong writers, it would be his only weakness. Deku and Ahsoka show multiple weaknesses in their journeys for heroism, which makes their victories all the greater and their defeats the more bitter. The strengths and weaknesses for well-written heroes require a balance to make things fair. Don't give your heroes the easy treatment. Bring them down to their lowest and make it meaningful. Don't gloss over their struggles. Deku tends to overthink and is highly inexperienced with his quirk, but his knowledge on heroes gives him a strategic edge, and his determinism enables him to master his quirk. Ahsoka is often brash and stubborn like her master, but patience and maturity enable her to grow and to keep her allies close. Even when these heroes do achieve, there is still room for growth, which further motivates their journeys. Their relationships to their mentors give them insight on how to handle their talents, even when they have periods of doubting their own abilities, but not to the point where people are over-lecturing them. Even Anakin is sick of all that. Through their experiences, they make deeper bonds with their mentors and friends. They even get to learn and know their enemies more. During life-changing moments of their journeys, both of their mentors fall. One lost his peak strength, whilst the other succumbed to evil. Both heroes eventually came to the point where they could no longer rely on their main mentors, as much as they did in the past. They had to step up and become the heroes others could rely on.
It's a hard world to live in, but the greatest heroes rise up to overcome it. These heroes have the potential to be of such appreciation that they will ultimately inspire others to take up the same path as the hero.